Yo, what is up guys, Grey here, and today we have got our week 6 battle of the APA Academy against my good friend MidPokeMaster and his Kentucky Torracats. Mid is one of those guys that I've gone like way back with. In the first league that I ever did was actually my own league, and he was one of the first guys to say that he wanted to join, and since then we've pretty much been like attached to the hip. We played in so many different leagues together, and in terms of Wi-Fi leagues I think I just have the edge, but in terms of showdown I think he edges me out. So we're about even, and probably about 20 battles that we've ended up playing against each other, because at one point we were both just completely going into every league together. So not intentionally, half the time it'd be like, oh, I've joined a league and then Mid's already there, or vice versa. So if there's anyone who knows how I play, it's definitely Mid. Also, if you haven't checked out his channel, by all means I would implore you to go and check out his channel. Great guy, great content creator. So yeah, with that out of the way, I should probably have got the no mind, I'll just overlay it, it's fine. I was about to say I should get the teams up on the screen, but I'll just put it on an overlay, so it's probably already up on there and I'm talking a load of nonsense right now. But yeah, let's get into the teams. So first up, he has Galvantula, Heatmore, Kyurem, Gmax, Melmetal, Rumorgus, Seismitoad, Silvally, Skuntank, Sylveon, Virizion, and Xatu. And I was mildly annoyed because, like, the Sunday before the week we were meant to battle, he decided to trade away his Espeon and his Hitmonchan for Virizion and Xatu. Prior to that, he had literally no ground resists outside of a Silvally grass or flying or something like that. So he did pick up a immunity and a resist to my Excadrill, which is a little bit of a problem, but Excadrill just runs through his team so easily in this game. Kyurem is a big problem for me. It always is. It's a terrifying mon in this gen because not even water types can check it now. Melmetal is just outright broken, even with Gmax and holding a Pokeball. It's Double Iron Bash still OHKOs like the entirety of my team, barring I think 3 mons. So yeah, that's a big problem. Sylveon and Galvantula are kind of annoying if they turn up. Sylveon, I'm not sure if it does, because it actually loses to 2 of my biggest threats in Excadrill and my Gmax Garbodor. Also doesn't really appreciate Tyranitar all too much, but then again Tyranitar doesn't appreciate it. Doesn't appreciate Sylveon either, so don't know which way that works. Noivern is pretty good against the team, so he may bring it just as like a check to that. Also can check my Celebi and my Chandelure pretty well, and my Aromatisse if I don't get a Toxic off on it. It can actually just sit there and store out my Aromatisse as well. So really have to prep for a lot of different threats on this team. It's very much a broken team, especially with that Heatmore looking at me, you know, that thing's a threat. But let's get into our team. So first up we have got our Rotom Wash with leftovers, Volt Switch, Pain Split, Toxic and Substitute, running some weird ass EV spread, but it does actually make sense. It's lower HP to gain as much back from Pain Split as I possibly can, running enough defense to be able to take a Double Iron Bash like just fine. I think it also doesn't get 2-hit KO'd, or sorry, it doesn't take half from a Thunder Punch from Adamant Gmax Melmetal. So obviously max Lightning instead of Thunder Punch. Also I'm running a lot of Spadef because I just know that he's going to be running that Gmax Solar Beam as well. And after leftovers, even if he is a Brave Nature over Adamant Nature, he will not be able to, well, he will be able to hit my sub, but I can actually sub up twice on it, and that will waste out the rest of his Gmax turns, and then I can go for a Pain Split and gain all of my health back, put him about 50%. So yeah, I think that's like the best set I could potentially go for. Also, if I decide to Wish Pass into this, then it gains more HP back. But it already had a low HP stat, but it does gain like 3/4 of its health back from a Wish, from Aromatisse, which is really nice. A little bit of speed just to outspeed anything that wants to try and speed creep me. And then I'm running the Toxic for his Kyurem potential switch in and his Sylveon potential switch in, as well as the Seismitoads. Seismitoad is extremely free for him to switch in against this, so I just don't want to give any kind of like free switches. As well as that, as we saw in our week 5 battle, if I get a sub up before the Seismitoad comes in, then I could actually, like, nothing apart from a Power Whip breaks my sub. And I don't know if we bring Power Whip against my team, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Yeah, that's our Rotom. Next up, we have got our Aromatisse, which is pretty much as Spadef as I need it. It does take as many hits as I possibly can. Also with leftovers, Moonblast, Encore, Wish, and Protect. Only move I really needed was Moonblast. It does deal with most of his mons outside of the Melmetal. Melmetal takes this extremely well, but at what point am I actually staying in with my Aromatisse against the Melmetal, especially if it's G-Max? Like, my Rotom is my switch into that. I'm running Encore in case he wants to try and set up with anything. He has plenty of setup on his team with, I say plenty, but he does have potential Virizion with setup, potential Carmine, Sylveon. Outside of that, actually probably not a lot. But also I can lock it into like Sticky Web, Galvantula if he goes for anything other than Double Iron Bash on his Melmetal, then I can Encore him into that, and actually I can take it on. I wouldn't say I take it on well with my Aromatisse, but it does mean that I can potentially lock it into Thunder Punch or High Horsepower and get a switch into something else. If for whatever reason he decides to go for Solar Beam as well, I can switch out accordingly. But realistically, that Melmetal just has to keep clicking Double Iron Bash after it comes in, so don't know how big Encore will be, but at least I do have the Protect to scout out, and I can like see if he goes for a Double Iron Bash. I have to pretty much sack something off if he does that. I'm running enough speed to actually outspeed a I believe it's just to outspeed his Melmetal with 20 investment in it. I don't know how much he's going to invest into that Melmetal, but I did feel like it was kind of crucial that I can outspeed it, and if he is low, then I can Moonblast for the damage, or I can Encore him if he decides to kill my Excadrill or my Tyranitar with anything other than Double Iron Bash. I can come in, click Encore, and then go from there. Next up, we have got our Tyranitar. It's Assault Vest with Rock Blast, Aerial Ace, Low Kick, and Heavy Slam. Running pretty much just coverage for his entire team. His Virizion is a big threat to my team. Also does seem like a fairly good switch into my Tyranitar. It resists both my stabs and probably any coverage move other than Aerial Ace or Fire Punch or Ice Punch that I decide to go for. But really, Fire Punch and Ice Punch don't really do much for me outside of hitting the Virizion, so I thought I might as well just go for the ×4 effective move and go for Aerial Ace instead. Low Kick does as much damage as possible to the Melmetal. It does about 35%, I think, which is really not a lot at all. If he decides to switch into it, then he has to take a Low Kick, which he will not take 2 as long as he is whittled down a little bit by my Rotom. Heavy Slam actually does a pretty good chunk to his Sylveon, especially if it's not physically defensive. It does about 70%, I think, special. So this could also act as a switch into his Sylveon. Depending on the situation, like obviously if Aromatisse can Wish Pass into this, then it can take on that Sylveon pretty well. Not great, but pretty well. Running enough speed to outspeed a Speed Creep, potential for his Sylveon that might want to outspeed it. Then I've just dumped as much as I can into special defense to be able to live hits from his Kyurem, because this is my main Kyurem switch in. Like, I don't really have Kyurem switch ins particularly outside of Aromatisse, but if he predicts that, then he may just go for a Flash Cannon. Actually, here's both of these mons, but I'm fairly sure my Tyranitar was EV'd to be able to live 2 Specs Flash Cannons and to be able to KO with Rock Blast in return. Running Rock Blast in case he wants to run anything with sub, like a sub Kyurem or a sub Focus Sash Galvantula. It does do, like, it obviously doesn't want to take hits particularly well from those, but with the Assault Vest it means it can, and it will then kill in return. Outside of that, I just put the rest into attack. I didn't have to run a Careful Nature to be able to live hits relatively well, so I decided to go for Adamant instead, just to do as much damage with Rock Blast as I can. Next up, we've got our Excadrill, and like I said in Team Preview, it just does a ton of work in this battle. Heavy Duty Boots may seem like a weird bring, but I'll get into that in a second. Now, running Earthquake, Iron Head, Swords Dance, and Rapid Spin, Adamant Nature, with enough speed to outspeed Choice Scarf, Virizion in the sand. The rest of it just gone into my bulk, trying to live hits. I think there's a chance that if he's not Life Orb Virizion, I can live close combat from it, and if it's not Specs or Life Orb Kyurem, I want to say, I can live an Earth Power from it. Don't live a Focus Blast if he decides to bring that, but at the end of the day, like, Kyurem is just a big threat, and hopefully I can just outspeed it in the sand, and if it is Berry, then it won't be able to kill me with anything in return, hopefully. The heavy duty boots is specifically there for the Galvantula. If the Galvantula sets up Sticky Web, then I can firstly I can bring it in after this first mon, and with heavy duty boots it means I outspeed still plenty of things on his team, and in the sand I'm really not affected at all by the by the webs at all. So if he does decide to run webs with a Choice Scarf Virizion with close combat, then I still outspeed, and Iron Head does a ton of damage to it. I think it may be a 2-hit KO, but obviously I don't want to just, like, if it hasn't taken damage first, I don't want to go ahead and click Iron Head and die to a close combat. So yeah, that's why we're running heavy duty boots. It also doesn't take any chip damage from potential rocks, potential I think I was going to say spikes, but Rumorgus only gets toxic spikes, which wouldn't affect me anyway, so never mind, that doesn't count. But next up we've got our Noivern, which is our designated lead with a jetpack. Frisk to see what item any mon that he's running is holding. It's really, really nice. Like, half the battle is knowing what items people are running, so having Frisk is really, really nice. I can see if he's Focus Sash Galvantula, see what item he is on Kyurem, should he lead with that, and if he's not Choice Scarf, then I know I can go for a Draco Meteor, and I should be able to just one-shot it, depending on its bulk. But the plan is to just click Draco Meteor, and with the eject pack, we'll switch out, and then we can get a switch into something that has a good matchup. If he leads with Galvantula, and I click Draco Meteor, it will put him down to his Sash. If he clicks Sticky Webs, then I go into I'll go into my Excadrill regardless, and then I will just click Rapid Spin to try and get rid of it, or I predict the Rumorgus to come in and click Earthquake. Alternatively, I could go out into pretty much anything else on my team and still do some work against that Galvantula. Like, it doesn't have an amazing matchup against the team that I'm bringing, outside of my last mon, but I don't ever plan on keeping it in on Galvantula, despite it actually having the Tango Berry. So also, other than that, we've got Hurricane to hit the Galvantula for good damage. It hits the Seismitoad. It pretty much hits the same things as the Draco Meteor does, but it'll hit Sylveon and it'll hit the Virizion for more damage, or for damage at all in Sylveon's case. If he decides to run Silvally Fairy, obviously it hits that as well. Toxic is there specifically for the Sylveon and the potential like Rumorgus or Seismitoad switch in that could happen. Outside of that, it's really just here to try and prevent webs to an extent, or at least like do a good amount of damage to something and then switch out. Next up, we've got our Celebi, and it's running Tango Berry, like I said, with Psychic, Aura Sphere, Nasty Plot, and Recover. Nasty Plot actually has a really good matchup, but at the same time, it is outsped by two things that can have bug moves and can just one-shot me. So I needed to run the Tango Berry for it to potentially be able to sweep. Psychic hits everything on his team except for the Melmetal and the Skuntank. And the Xatu, I guess, but like, if Xatu's there, I deal with it before I try setting up. Same with the Skuntank, obviously. I have plenty of things on my team that can deal with that Skuntank, so Psychic and Aura Sphere kind of hits everything it needs to. After a Nasty Plot, it will be able to do a ton of damage to his Melmetal, and Recover is just there for recovery. Like, yeah. Outside of his Kyurem and his Silvally, there was nothing that really had a speed tier that I felt like I needed to potentially speed creep outside of maybe Skuntank, and I think I outsped it anyway. So unless he's running like a speedier version, then Aura Sphere actually could just straight up 2-hit KO it. Modest, max special attack, with the rest into bulk. I'm sure these spreads means something that it lived, but I honestly can't remember. I think it's probably trying to live a Freeze Dry or an Ice Beam from a Kyurem, which is Burberry Berry, because I kind of felt like Burberry Berry Kyurem was a potential bring this week. It also lives a Shadow Claw from Rumorgus. It lives pretty much anything from Skuntank, and with the Tango Berry, it lives a +2 X-Scissor from from Jolly, Life Orb, Virizion, I believe, from full. So yeah, that's the team, and I'm really looking forward to this battle. We are both 5-0. I forgot to mention this at the start of the video, but we're both 5-0, and so one of us will go undefeated, the other one will pick up their first loss. If I'm going to lose to anyone, I don't mind it being mid. Like, I've said this, I think I said it before we lost to him in PMC finals. I was like, I don't mind if I lose to mid, because I'm always happier to lose to a friend, and if I lose to mid, so be it. Okay, so here we are with the battle, and he brought pretty much the team that I was expecting. The Melmetal, Kyurem, Sylveon, I thought were almost definite. Galvantula, also I thought was really likely bring, because the webs are actually pretty good against my team, though not so great against the team that I brought. Virizion and Rumigus, I knew that it was either going to be Seismitoad or Rumigus that turned up, and then it was either Xatu or Virizion for that last spot, so not a surprise at all about his team. And looking at this, I'm expecting him to lead with Galvantula. If he leads with Kyurem, again, I think my designated lead is Noivern, so I'm just going to go ahead and go Noivern for my lead, and I'm going to click Draco Meteor. I see these Focus Sash, there's a chance that he stays in. As you can see, he actually goes out into his Sylveon, so I do absolutely nothing at all. And here I'm just going to go, I believe, out into my Aromatisse to see what he wants to do. If he wants to go for a Calm Mind turn 2, then by all means I can just Encore him into that. If he goes for Calm Mind into Hyper Voice, then a little bit of a problem, but at the same time, I have my ways of dealing with that. And we can also scout out to see what set he is, but he actually just goes for the Baton Pass and goes out into his Melmetal, and I absolutely 100% have to go into my Rotom Wash. There's no other reason not to. And he does actually have the max overgrowth, he does have the Solar Beam, and after these leftovers recovery, I'm going to be able to sub up just fine on it. And if he wants to keep clicking the max overgrowth, then I'm going to be able to keep getting a sub up until his Gmax is over, and then I'll just click the Pain Split after, because he cannot actually do that much damage at all to me. I think there's like a maximum of like 35% with his Thunder Punch after, so I'll be free to get the Pain Split off and do a ton of damage to him. And if he wants to go for anything else, my sub should survive unless he goes for the Thunder Punch. But I kind of predict him to potentially expect my Noivern or my Celebi to come in, thinking that I'm not going to be able to take the next max overgrowth, as he actually does go for the Gmax Meltdown, which is kind of annoying because I can't keep clicking sub, but my sub actually doesn't get broken by this, so I can now quite freely just click Pain Split, and it's a little early, but it's still going to be like effective. Brings it down a little bit, but the Grassy Train is going to give him a little bit of health back, and we're now in a position where we have all of our health back, and his Gmax has done absolutely nothing, so absolutely perfect for me. Rotom really just was like the perfect counter to his Melmetal in this game, regardless of what set I brought, outside of him bringing Solar Beam, which I kind of was expecting to turn up, because if I Will-O-Wisp him, he had no other way of actually being able to 2-hit KO my Rotom. And here I'm just going to go for sub, because I can't go for really anything else. I don't want to switch out and have this Melmetal hit something else on my team for damage, so I'm just going to go ahead and click sub, and on this turn I'm going to click Toxic, because if he wants to attack me, then he's going to go for the Thunder Punch again, and he's slowly going to wear me down to a point where I can click Pain Split again and get a ton of health back, and he will lose even more health after the Grassy Terrain has run out as well. So here I'm just going for a Toxic. If he wants to switch out into anything, then it catches anything that wants to switch in. If he stays in and Thunder Punches, that is also fine, because I got Leftovers recovery, I got Pain Split, and this Melmetal will slowly get worn down, as he actually does go out into his Kyurem, which is ideal. Like, I always thought that this was kind of his switch in, because I couldn't do any damage to him, especially as he'd seen my set. It, like, Pain Split, sub. If I sub there, then I just click Pain Split after, and then I'm scared out. If I click Volt Switch or Hydro Pump, then I do negligible damage to this, and he probably gets like a good chunk of that back with Grassy Terrain. I think Grassy Terrain is still in effect at the end of this turn, but I'm just going to click Toxic and catch the Kyurem, and that's really, really good for me, because it does actually just wear it down, especially with the sand and what turns out to be Life Orb. I go into my Tyranitar kind of just as a scout. My Tyranitar doesn't have an amazing matchup, so I'm not too worried about it going down potentially. And here I expect him to go for a potential Flash Cannon or an Earth Power. So I go out into my Rotom, and I'm just going to go ahead and click Toxic again in case he wants to switch out maybe into the Sylveon. I don't think he's going to make that same play, but I definitely don't expect him to stay in on that turn, so I'm just going to go for another Pain Split and wear down this Kyurem even more. At this point, I can go out into my Aromatisse, and because I've seen his Life Orb, I know that I can take a second Flash Cannon after Leftovers recovery, and that the sand is going to run out on that turn, so I actually get the recovery. And sorry, I live after a protect and leftovers, 2 lots of leftover recovery, and I can click wish and I can just store out this Kyurem until it dies. I think he realizes that, and I just go for the wish, and I believe I'm just going to protect on this turn. I have no reason not to, because I really need my Aromatisse to stay at full to be able to deal with things like the Galvantula and the Sylveon, as well as the Rumorgus, and I guess to a lesser extent the Virizion. So he's going to click the double Iron Bash on my switch out, and here I had a choice. I could have gone, I can't go for Pain Split, because if he goes into Kyurem, then I'm going to take a ton of damage and it's just not worth it. His Kyurem then gets all the health back. I could have clicked Toxic, which probably was my best play, because it meant that I stayed at as full amount of health as I possibly could. But instead I clicked the sub as he goes out into his Kyurem. I mean, I did kind of cover any switches out onto like Virizion or something like that if you wanted to go out into it. But now it just means that I'm at a low amount of health, and he can go out into his Galvantula and click Bug Buzz. And I'm not sure if I can live this. Like, I do have a good amount of special defense, so I should be able to live it. But at the same time, I want to keep this as healthy as possible to deal with that Melmetal that's in the back, because it really is my only way of dealing with it. And so I'm going to go into my Noivern, and he's going to go for the Bug Buzz, which was expected. And I fully expect him to go out into Sylveon here. Like, he's shown it to be his only switch. It realistically is his only switch outside of Melmetal. And if he went Melmetal here, unfortunate, but not the end of the world. Like, the Draco Meteor seemed fairly obvious, so Sylveon seemed like the best switch in for him. So I'm just going to click Toxic, and we managed to poison this. And considering he has Baton Pass, I would assume he probably has Wish, Protect, and Hyper Voice. Outside of that, it might be Baton Pass, 3 attacks. Like, I haven't really seen anything from this set outside of Baton Pass, so I'm just not expecting him to run Heal Bell. If he is, I've not even seen damage, so he could be Specs at this point for all I know. And I feel like he needed 3 moves to be able to hit my entire team. I felt like he needed Hyper Voice, Mystical Fire, and Psyshock. So seeing like 3 attacks with Baton Pass would not have been surprising at all. I'm going to switch out into my Aromatisse. At this point, actually, my Aromatisse does 1v1 the Sylveon. And here he goes down to his Rumorgus, which I thought was an interesting switch, because it does seem like it's about the only thing that takes a hit from Excadrill at this point, outside of his Virizion, if he gets the right prediction. And so if he's going to stay in and click Rocks, then I think I've outsped. Yeah, I outspeed this Rumorgus if I outspeed his Melmetal. Like, I also speed grouped this effectively when it was speed grouping his Melmetal. And I know I can get a good amount of damage off with the Moonblast. I'm surprised he didn't go to Melmetal there, but he really wants to set up Rocks, I guess. And he's going to go into Melmetal again. So I actually went for the Encore. I was hoping to try and... I had a feeling he might want to kind of stay in and just click like a Nightshade or something like that, or I don't know, Toxic if he had it, or Toxic Spikes. But he actually goes back out into the Melmetal as I Encore, and unfortunately, it does mean after the Rocks, my Rotom will go down to this Thunder Punch, and now I have very, very little to deal with this Melmetal. I just need to get damage, effectively, and Tyranitar was the most expendable mon on my team. Here I'm just going to go for a Low Kick, and if he switched out into anything else, like Low Kick into whatever, would have done a ton of damage, so I'm not surprised that he stayed in. And I'm just going to click Earthquake. I need to go out into my Excadrill and just click Earthquake, effectively. That was my play. I could have expected him to switch and click Swords Dance, but I didn't feel like that was worth my time. I felt like if he stayed in and just clicked High Horsepower, thinking his Melmetal was kind of dead weight at this point, then I just lost my Excadrill for free. I could not Swords Dance on that turn. But we're actually going to do enough damage to this Rumorgus. If I was Jolly, I would not have done enough. So Adamant actually came in, and he goes out into his Virizion. I cannot afford to take close combat. Like, I just can't take close combat. I know Iron Head is not going to do enough, and here we frisk his Code Berry, which is interesting. So I still think that he's not going to stay in. He has a safe switch into Sylveon, and I'm just going to click the Roost. I need to keep this as healthy as possible. It does take the Rocks damage, unfortunately. Not Heavy Duty Boots this week, so I'm going to now go out into my Excadrill, and he's going to go back out into Virizion again. This time we're going into Celebi. I'm not sure what set he's going to be running, but if he sets up a Swords Dance, I know I can take an X-Scissor, as I know he's not at Life Orb at this point, and that psychic damage is good enough that pretty much anything on my team now can come in and kill this Virizion. So the only things that I really need to worry about are his Melmetal and whether or not his Sylveon can actually just stall out my team. Melmetal gets to a decent amount of health again, then it's a big problem for my team. I absolutely cannot let that happen. I need to have Drillin on it and do as much damage as physically possible. And here he's going to go out into his Sylveon. I'm just going to click Draco again. I wasn't sure if we wanted to keep that around or not, so I felt like I always have a safe switch into my Aromatisse. He wants to go Melmetal again. This time I'm just going to go for Protect, because if he doesn't go for Double Iron Bash, which pretty much kills everything on my team at this point, then I can Encore it and nothing is going to be able to do anything to me. So here he actually goes for high horsepower, which was an interesting play. I think Mid will probably admit it himself. This is a little bit of a choke. If we click Double Iron Bash, then there's just nothing I can do. I would have to go out into my Excadrill after and try and pick off this Melmetal, and Excadrill could have just actually won the game from where it was, but it would have been close. Here I'm just going to Encore it into high horsepower because I know it's not going to do enough damage to me. Without a Choice Band or anything like that, there's nothing you can really do. I'm going to click Wish, and then I'm going to throw off at Moonblast. And my play there really should have been to go into my Excadrill instead of going for a Moonblast, because the Wish seemed really obvious, and if he wished into Melmetal like he did, then it's a problem. I had to sack off something. I basically had to sack off my drill. So if we go back to this turn where I click Moonblast, if I go on Excadrill there, I'm in a really good spot because he doesn't want to go into his Melmetal particularly, fearing the Earthquake, and he may then go into his Virizion. I can click Iron Head. Iron Head plus Earthquake still would have done enough to his Melmetal to take it out. I guess if he went to Galvantula, then his Focus Sash and he could have lived the hit. But going into Excadrill was 100% my play here. I don't know why I decided to stay in and just Moonblast. But it is what it is, and I've got to now go into Excadrill on the Melmetal and effectively sack off my Excadrill in return for this Melmetal. I almost do enough damage to take it out, but high horsepower is just going to straight up one-shot me. Melmetal's busted, and I'm going to go into a Aromatisse. I know there's a very good chance that I outspeed it. I know I outspeed it from the Encore before, and I'm going to click Moonblast that does enough damage. Here I completely forgot in my mind that I had Sylveon was Toxic, and at this point I thought I lost because Sylveon could just stall out my last two mons quite easily. Because it's Toxic, I actually have a chance. I have a very good chance. Here he goes into his Galvantula. I kind of expected this, and I'm just going to go for a Wish on the Thunder, check for damage, and really hoping not to get paralyzed. Unfortunately, I do get paralyzed. I was going for a Moonblast on that turn. I had no reason not to, and Moonblast does a good amount of damage to Galvantula. So, really unfortunate, but all I've got to do is keep getting the wishes, and as long as I don't go too low, then the paras won't matter too much. Here we get super unlucky, we get crit and then parried. So on the next lot of turns, I think if I don't get my protect off, I actually just lose. So I'm in a really precarious situation. I'm going to keep clicking Wish and try and get myself up to as much health as I can. So on that turn there, if I went for Protect and got fully paralyzed and he clicked Thunder, he actually just killed me. So switching out actually gave me the most health possible, which is really nice. Here I'm going to click Wish again. Actually no, I think I could click Moonblast, yeah, because I couldn't let this thing set up. If it set up a Swords Dance and then click Leaf Blade, it would have done so much damage that the Galvantula would have come in and just killed me afterwards. So I had to get rid of it to prevent any setup. We went for Leaf Blade. It wasn't doing any more damage than the Thunders were doing, so it's in a really good position in that sense. Now I just need to play to not get fully paralyzed. If I get fully paralyzed on this turn, then I lose effectively because my Noivern cannot beat that Sylveon one-on-one. Maybe going into my Noivern here was a play to try and prevent potential hacks, and here I'm just going for the Moonblast again. I'm slowly whittling down this Sylveon, and I'm fairly sure here he's going to go for the Wish, as I'm just going to go for another Moonblast. At this point I have no reason not to keep clicking Moonblast, but he actually wants to keep his Sylveon healthier. As I actually get fully paralyzed, he has switched into Galvantula that turn. He got a free switch into Galvantula. As he actually decides to Baton Pass on that turn, as I'm going to throw off a Wish. I don't know how much his Hyper Voice is going to do, but our Moonblast does a good chunk to that Galvantula, and we get the special attack drop, which means that barring any crits, his Galvantula is just not doing enough damage at this point. It's doing 23%. It doesn't matter how many paras he gets, really. Unless he gets like 4 in a row, there's no way he's actually taking this out. And we're going to take out his Galvantula. And last up is his Sylveon, which is Toxic Poisoned, and it looks really quite good for me now. I'm going to go for a Moonblast, hoping for a special attack drop, just to make this endgame a little bit less of a worry. Because if he gets enough fully paras, then he can actually still win this game, because even if his Sylveon goes down to like a low amount of health, my Noivern misses a Hurricane as my only attack to actually hit it, then I end up losing this game. So I needed to, I don't really want to stall out mid like this, but I needed to protect the victory, and I'm sure he understands that Wish protecting was my play there, and hoping I didn't get fully parried. And Aromatisse 4v1s I say 4v1s, it 3v1s like half his team and picks up the KO on Melmetal as well, so it actually picks up 4 kills this week, absolute MVP. And I've already used Aromatisse for a thumbnail, so I don't know what mon I'm going to use for a thumbnail this week, but I guess Rotom Wash, because without Rotom, that Gmax Melmetal went through my entire team. But anyway, good game to mid, really fun game, like arguably one of the best battles that I think I've been a part of. Like, it was, especially while I was playing, it was really back and forth. We kept reading each other really well. I think I made all the right plays that I needed to, except for that extra drill on the Sylveon to try and prevent any Wish Pass to Melmetal. Yeah, other than that, I think I played that pretty much perfectly. Got really lucky with the para hacks at the end. Like, I'm sure I got parried like a couple of times, but those times didn't matter as much as when I was going for like a Protect. If that had happened on a Protect turn, then I lost. Like, it was very much a tense game at the end with the para hacks, but with that we go 6-0. I want to say plus 16 differential, which is like one of the best differentials I've ever had in the league. It's kind of wild. Like, I'm always one of those who just plays for the win and never for differential. So my differential, even when I went like 9-3, sorry no, 11-3 in a season, 11-4. I can't remember. The first season of PTL was really long. But whenever I got 11 wins, I still had like a plus 16 differential. Like, I just played for the wins, and a lot of them were close games. So yeah, once again, good game to mid. Go and check them out if you haven't already, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see the rest of my APA season and potentially any other leagues that I should decide to upload. I've got a couple coming up, so yeah, check in again for them. And until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.